Hi, Maria.
Hello. Sorry, I was having technical issues.
Problem. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, fine.
Fantastic. Okay. Let me just... We'll wait a couple of minutes to get people online.
Yeah.
Normally people take a few minutes to get on.
Yes.
So we've not got everyone who registered online.
It's saying here on my screen the webinar Jam Studio. It's asking for permission, but that's you're the one that gives that, or
Sorry, could you say that again?
It says here on my screen something about webinar Jam Studio needs your permission to start or something like that. So do I need to start, or is that you that does that?
You can press start. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
So we're now live. The broadcast has started.
Yeah. Great.
So that's not a problem. So I can see you've joined. Okay, Joe is waving hello. So let me just check that Eva is also joining us. Gail says hello, Ankush, you're frozen. Okay. I'm not going to break into a rendition of Let It Go. Okay, we have Eva there. Hi, Eva.
Hi, sorry.
It's okay. We haven't started yet. We're just waiting for everyone to log in.
Okay. I don't know why I keep getting this. I keep getting something. Can you hear me?
We can hear you and we can see you.
Okay, that's good because I can't see you.
Okay. Right. So I think we'll probably go ahead and get started, and people will join as they come along. I was going to start with Maria first, and we'll kind of go for about half. So I'm just going to mute you, Eva. So you're now muted, and that should be okay. And we've got Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hi.
So welcome to the webinar. For those of you who haven't been on this before, Gail saying hi as well. You can see on the chat on the side. This is really an opportunity for the coaches in the group, because I do some videos and do some posts, and it's been going well. But I think, and I had to think about it, and I felt that having a live webinar was probably giving more value to the group, and it helps people learn so much more from that. And I was having conversations with coaches from the group, and what I found was that you can get so much from a video or from a post, but actually having that conversation seems to be quite different. So really glad for you to join us today. Do you want to just start with maybe telling people just a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm Maria, and I live in Denmark. I moved here after 25 years in Scotland, but I'm originally from Denmark. And I used to do therapy, person-centered therapy, but I want to move over to coaching and work with the three principles. because I'm very excited about them. The potential within it's something quite interesting for me. And what I want to bring here today is it's kind of asking a question of how much effort should I put into my coaching business, because I'm asking this because things are kind of ticking along. I put an ad in the paper and no one responded, but that was perhaps not okay, but I'm kind of plodding on. So I've done a couple of talks, and I'm advertising some more workshops, and I quite like the speed of it, but I'm wondering if I don't know, it would be quite nice to earn some money, and I'm wondering if I'm hiding behind a good feeling about it or something. I don't know. I don't know if you got anything out of that.
Yeah, so is the question really about how much work you're doing?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. No, there is, because it's such a it's it'd be easy to almost to answer the question by saying, you know, I don't know, I'm putting in as much effort as I'm putting in, but there must be a reason why it's something that I'm considering, and because there's things that I would like that I need money to buy, or and I can't live where I'm living rent free permanently. It would be nice at sort of at my age to branch out as well. So I don't know. It is a very it's a slippery thing. It's difficult to get hold of what it is that I'm just kind of thinking about it, and it is maybe something about that I should do more, or yeah. But I am enjoying the sort of unfolding of things, and it's quite a luxury to just, things are just sort of ticking along, but I'm just thinking of a sort of a business sense, to be sort of ahead of the game, you know, like to sort of, I've got something planned, but what about after that? Nothing at the moment.
So are you willing to throw away the should?
Yes, I think so.
Coaching is such a wonderful profession, in my opinion, and one of the things that's so wonderful about it is there really is no rule book. You know, there are guidelines, there are things that I share, there are things that other coaches share which work, but there really isn't a guidebook in terms of this is the way to do things or this is not the way to do things. And I know for me that whenever I get into this should, that often is an indication that I'm on slippery ground.
Yes. Yes. Maybe because it is such a, I don't know, like an intangible subject. I was wondering if it's like I had another thing, which was, sort of what it takes to be a professional coach. I don't know if that sounds as if it's um, there's a bit more around that. I don't know what you.
What do you think is a professional coach?
Um, sort of, I've been sort of listening to things that you have posted as well, and your conversations, and sort of in comparison to therapy. So it's about kind of moving forward, like simply put, but like when you compare it to therapy, which is my background.
Do you see the distinction between, and I know I did a post about this, and there are different points of view, I can only share mine, but do you see the distinction between coaching and therapy?
Yes, well, the kind of coaching that I did was kind of moving on from the present moment as well, but you still had the sort of idea of perhaps illness, which you don't have around the three principles. You're kind of working from the sort of healthier part and the sort of the innate health that we all have. So I think it does. I think that's what's I don't know. It's a bit like that. This is part of the life force of this is that you're moving, you're sort of growing, and you're not kind of looking back into the past of things. So this is why I like the difference. But sometimes I'm wondering about where to position myself. Because if I'm thinking a business coach and people talk about sort of laser coaching, and I'm going, what? And then I when I see people talk, it seems to be like just chilled out conversations. So what is laser coaching, for example?
So would it be helpful if I just shared my views? Because there's no correct answer to that. You know, there's no guidebook to say this is how it is. There's no world authority on coaching. Everyone's got different views on it. But can I share mine with you?
Yes, please.
See, what I have really grown to appreciate, and I didn't see this when I started. I really didn't understand what coaching was. What I thought coaching was is that people got paid to help other people get better at something. You know, you've got a sports coach. The coach helps the sports team or sports person get better at the sport they're in. Business coaching is they help them get better at business or, you know, achieve some goal. And I just thought it was a helper. What I have come to appreciate over the last few years is what do the best coaches do? So some of the best coaches in the world, what do they think their job is? What do they think they do? What do people pay them for? And do they see themselves as, well, it's all the same? And what I found is that the best coaches, or some of the best coaches in the world that I've come across, really differentiate themselves, not as a marketing thing, but in terms of really what they do, in that coaches help people, help their clients have a future that is different to the one that they would have if they hadn't hired them. And I'm really, every day I see that more clearly. See, nobody needs a coach. I sort of post on Facebook around Christmas time, and it was, I get a lot of ads of people, people adding me on Facebook, and if I've got a number of mutual friends, I'll add them. So some guy must have added me. I didn't know who he was, and I must have accepted it. And he put a note out on Facebook which said everybody needs coaching, and I'm offering coaching, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I have the exact opposite view to that. Nobody needs coaching, right? But it can be really, really helpful. It can be really helpful. I was talking to a client this morning, and I said, nobody needs a gym. But if you want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, would a gym be helpful? Yeah, it's really helpful. Nobody needs a car. In fact, I don't have a car right now. I gave my car up. Nobody needs a car. However, if you need to get somewhere that's very remote, or you want to travel in a certain place in a certain time, a car is really, really helpful. So I feel the same way about coaching. Coaching can be really, really helpful, but nobody needs coaching. Very few people in the world have a budget for coaching. I do. I put money aside for coaching and training because I'm a professional. I recommend other coaches do too. But most people that we meet don't account for this in their, when they budget their monthly budgets that they do. I need to do my shopping. I need to get some clothes. I need to do that. They don't have a coaching budget.
No.
So keeping that in mind, I mean, the other thing I want to say as well, and I've shared this with a lot of non-3P coaches, and what I've shared with them is coaching as a profession exists on its own, and this might offend people, but I'm going to say it anyway. Coaching as a profession exists outside of the principles. It's complete and it's whole on its own. Exactly the same way as the medical profession is a complete profession on its own. It doesn't need the principles, just as a lawyer is a complete profession on its own, just as accountants, that they're complete professions. A coach, you can be a fantastic coach and have no idea about the principles. And again, some people may disagree with me, but I believe this really strongly. Do I feel that the 3 principles are really, really helpful for all coaches? Absolutely. They're extremely helpful, just as they are helpful to doctors and lawyers and accountants to be better doctors, lawyers, and accountants. So are the principles helpful to coaches. But you can be an absolutely fantastic, like I said, non-3 principles coach and really help people. And there are a lot of great coaches that do help people. Good people, they help others. And so coaching as a profession is a profession. And what I got mixed up on was I thought the 2 things were the same thing. And what I never really saw was they are 2 different things. And that's why the group that I've got is called Coaching Using the 3 Principles. Very specifically, it's not sharing the principles or 3 principles facilitators, because I really see coaching as a standalone profession. And for people who are or want to be coaches, I want to bring in how does the principles fit into that. But they are 2, in my opinion, distinct things. Now, what does that mean going forward? It means that, Maria, you can be a great coach, or you can be coaching exclusive of the principles. And so there are things to learn, or there are things to do or experience around coaching as a profession. And this comes into things like, going out and talking to people, scheduling conversations, what agreements you have with people, confidentiality, getting paid, the business side of things, that's all stuff, in the profession of coaching. Then you have the principles, and for me, the deeper my grounding is in the principles, the deeper I understand the nature of mind, thought, and consciousness, the better coach I am. They are very much connected, but it's separate. Now, I can have a really, really deep understanding of the principles and not be a coach. I can have a deep understanding of the principles and be a fantastic psychologist. I can have a deep understanding of the principles and be a great therapist or a great counselor. But it's a different profession. And some people are getting confused about the two things. And again, it's my opinion, and it's my reality, and what is reality, I don't know, but my opinion is that I see people in the 3P world, they get deeply, deeply impacted by the principles. And then they go, right, I want to help other people. Oh, I'll call myself a coach. Not really understanding what a coach is. Not understanding what the difference is between a coach and a therapist. Not understanding what that profession involves. And so then they go around with this really deep, wonderful understanding of the principles, but really struggle on the coaching side of things because they're not coaches. Now, what do you need to be a coach? And this is the fun, I think, of coaching, because there's no answer. You don't need any particular qualifications. Anyone can set up as a coach. There is a very low barrier to entry for coaching. And I think that's a good thing. It's a bad thing in some ways, and it's a great thing, because it's enabled me to get into this profession, and it's enabled you to get into this profession. It enables a lot of people to get into this profession. So there's a very low barrier to entry, but there's a really high bar for success. That's why most coaches don't make money. But it doesn't come, in my opinion, from getting really good at internet marketing, from selling things online, for doing things that a lot of people online, if you go on Facebook, I get all these ads saying, create a 6-figure coaching practice in 5 easy steps. I've never seen anyone create a 6-figure coaching practice in 5 easy steps, ever. It doesn't work that way.
So there is a kind of, what I'm hearing is that there is like something you can take, not a framework, but a couple of things that you can take that helps you to separate yourself as a coach. Like for instance, I was thinking about, you were saying like confidentiality, or like sort of like that. This is something that is a framework around therapy as well, that you sort of discuss with the client beforehand, how it's going to be in terms of confidentiality and things like that. So that's kind of like a professional framework. But because there isn't anything specific in terms of of coaching that you were pointing to, and certainly not the create a fantastic coaching service in 5 easy steps, that the sort of the grounding and the sort of space you have impact from is I'm thinking that this is kind of a place to work from as a coach.
Yeah, and let me make that clear, that the biggest impact that you or I or anyone else will have as coaches is, in 3P language, it's our grounding. In coaching language, it's who you're being. It's the same thing. So non-3P coaches go, who are you being? Who are you being in this moment? Who are you being with your client? What's your beingness? They talk in this language. 3P coaches, we talk about what's your grounding, how grounded are you? But it's the same thing. It's how we show up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are we walking our talk? Do we understand what it is that we're talking about? So if we are saying, well, you're feeling, you're thinking, and yet we don't see that for our own lives, that's going to limit our own impact. The deeper we see that, the more impactful we will be as coaches. Now, you mentioned framework. Yes and no. So on one side, I wanted to agree with you there's a framework, and then I was like, well, there is and there isn't.
Mm.
So, you know, I have a coach. I have Steve Chandler as my coach. We've never had a written agreement. We've never had a written agreement. We have a verbal agreement, and we've just been coaching. And I pay him, and you know, it works. However, I do have a written agreement. I coach slightly different than he does. And I have a written agreement with all of my clients, and it's very important for me to go through that. But every coach is different. Mm. Everyone does things in a slightly different way. So it's not so much as a framework, they're guidelines. And this really is an apprenticeship profession. You know, I was very reluctant to say coaches need a coach because it sounds so self-serving. It really does. And yet I know that when I got a coach, I'd done training, I'd done courses. I'd even had coaches years ago, but they weren't what I would now term as a professional coach. When I got really good quality coaching, it so changed how I showed up as a coach myself with my clients, and I was more impactful, and I was making more money. The two things are intricately linked. The more impactful I was as a coach, the more money I made. You can't have one without the other. Now, there are exceptions. There are some people who use some kind of marketing approach and they make money and manipulate people or whatever else. I don't like doing that. I also have a view that in the long term that's not sustainable. But I would say in general, the more money I make tends to follow when I'm being more of service, when I'm better as a coach.
I think when I'm hearing you speak, I think I'm beginning to see something that's been standing in my way, which is I mean, in sort of in theory, I know that the principles are not showing a way to do things; they're just telling us how we experience the world. But I have been trying to emulate, you know, like something that I've seen, and it feels so little like who I am at the moment. And sometimes I'm trying to be maybe further ahead than I really am. But I can see that it's a matter of showing up and then having. For instance, I mean, you were saying you were working with a contract, like to have things that makes you feel, yeah, this is kind of what I would like. Well, not makes you feel, but things that you would like to use in your practice to sort of as the one that you are.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got a limited time today, but I mean, if you were my client, you know, what I would do is I'd spend a lot longer going through what that looks like. I'd spend a lot longer going through, you know, if and my clients that I work with who are coaches, I've got a small number who I work with who are coaches. You know, I really work with them to build that in terms of, you know, how they do that, how they show up as professionals. And I remember it was Jamie who said to me, you know, don't be worried to ask how-to questions. Because I used to get scared. I used to think I'm not allowed. If I'm asking a how-to question, I'm doing something wrong. But there is also a place for some how-to questions. You know, and I ask how-to questions. You know, how does someone else do an agreement? How do you schedule appointments? You know, I use Google Calendars. Does someone have a better way to do that? There is a place for that as well. It's not all about how-tos. I think people put too much emphasis on that. There's also a place for showing up in a certain way, and I know when I've had coaching conversations with some coaches from this group, I've pointed out a couple of things that I can see straight away that they're doing or not doing that's really holding them back from being well paid for the work they do and impacting people. But we've had a limited time today, but I'd really encourage you to ask some more detailed questions in the group. That's what the group's for. So if you don't know what that looks like, ask the question in the group. Go and get some peer coaching, or hire a coach, hire someone that you want to work with, and you'll see how they work with you, someone who's maybe got a bit of experience. You don't need to hire a world-class coach, but even if you hire someone who's 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, or if you have a peer coaching conversation with someone who's 1 or 2 steps ahead of you, you will learn a lot through doing. That will be very, very helpful and impactful for you. And again, ask a question in the group. I'm happy to share things over there as well that you can do. But there are only guidelines. But it's a great question that you've asked. There is no way to do it. There's no one way. Everyone does it differently. But by asking around, by practicing, by playing with things, you'll find what works for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Has that been helpful?
It has. Yes. I think it's focused on things that I can do, which is very helpful. Thank you.
Great. So are we complete for now?
Yes. Thank you very much, Ankush.
Great. Okay. I'm going to just place you on mute. I'll just hide you away, and then. Okay. Eva, can you unmute yourself? It won't let me do it.
There.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Hi Eva, how are you doing?
Actually, I'm really great, Ankush. Thanks. Thanks.
Great.
So,
You're calling us from California?
I am. Yeah, San Jose.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I know you have been sharing the principles since 1994.
Yes.
Done some work in the San Jose County as well, haven't you, for a long time? And now retired from the county?
Yes. I worked for the Department of Alcohol and Drug Services for Santa Clara County for 20-some years. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I'm sure you did some great work over there with the people that came to see you.
Yes, especially after I was introduced to the principles. Yeah, that's when I. So I don't know where you want me to begin.
Well, just what would you like some coaching on today? We've got about 20 minutes, half an hour, so
Okay.
It's really your time.
Okay. So since our last conversation, I don't know if you want me to mention that you are my coach.
Well, you've done it now. Everyone knows. The cat's out of the bag.
Well, you are. Okay. And I just want to start by saying that, and it pertains to a little bit to what Maria was saying, is that the reason I felt the need to hire a coach after retiring from the county and deciding a couple of years later that I wanted to get back into being of service, but I didn't want to do counseling. I wanted to do coaching. And I asked several people, but I never got an answer that clicked with me as to what the difference is between coaching and counseling. And that's when I reached out to you, and you have helped me tremendously in that area. So my dilemma now is, and I've never faced this before, this is the first time. I have a client that I have been working with for almost a year, and around the holidays, he decided, and I had offered him the opportunity to go live his life, and then if he wanted to reach back to me, he could, so we talked about a package deal that would include that. And he was very sure that he was going to be fine in his life and that he no longer needed coaching. So a couple of days ago, he reached out to me, and he decided he is interested in some more coaching. Well, one thing is that I just have taken on 2 more clients, and over the holidays, I was full, so I wasn't taking any new clients. Well, I've just taken on 2 new clients, raised my fees, and so when he reached out to me, I mentioned to him, that my fees had increased, and that if we did decide to continue coaching, that I would be at the full. I'd be full. I would be one more than full, but I was willing to take it back. Anyway, he was very upset about the fee increase and felt that because he had been my client before, that he deserved the fee he was paying. Well, we had the very clear discussion that he no longer wanted to be coached. So when I increased my fees, I mean, it's not that I don't want to be of service to him, but at the same time, I'm paying higher fees. I have, bills to pay, and I'm stuck. A big part of me doesn't want to give in. I want to stand firm at my increased fees.
So, Eva, the question I've got for you is, what's the actual problem?
As far as?
So you've got someone who was your client, they stopped working with you,
Mm-hmm.
You've increased your fee, they want to come back to you, but they're upset because your fee has increased.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the problem?
Well, to me, the problem is that if it wasn't somebody I had been seeing, I wouldn't even consider taking on another person, because I have a life. I have as many clients. Some of my clients I see several times a week. If he hadn't been my client before, I would have just said, I'm sorry that I'm full, but I could refer you to somebody. And I did say that. And he wants to see me. Am I being stubborn?
Well, I'm curious as to what the issue is, because it sounds like this guy's got an issue, that he's upset. He's upset because you've raised a fee, but what's your problem?
Guilt. I'm feeling part of me is saying I really should, let him pay his original fee, and then the other part of me is saying, no, this is a whole new year. I've increased my fees for my new clients, and he is a new client, even though I saw him before. He closed that door.
Well, I don't think it's about stubbornness or not stubbornness, and there again is no right answer to this, because again, with regards to pricing or anything else, it really is down to you. You could take this guy on and charge him nothing, or you could take him on and charge 10 times the amount you were charging him. It really is a combination of what you are willing to offer and what he's willing to pay. And if the two things meet, then that's where you have a transaction. You know, I'm currently in the process, the wonderful, joyous tasks of finding wedding vendors.
Right.
And one of the tasks I've been doing for the last couple of weeks is looking at wedding photographers. Some of you may have seen this. I put a post on Facebook and someone recommended wedding photographers. And they're people who charge different rates.
Mm-hmm.
And people have come back and said, well, this is my fee. You know, and I might have said, well, why are you 1.5 times the price of that guy? Or what's this and what's going on? And my background is procurement or purchasing, as some people might call it. So before I got into the principles, I was a professional buyer. So I've got my professional buyer's hat on. I want to have a deal. I want to negotiate. But, you know, the best people have come back and said, you know, they might have reduced a little bit, but, you know, various vendors, but they've come back and said, look, I appreciate that, but this is our fee. The biggest example of that was we're having a marquee in the back garden. And so we've gone to a certain vendor, and the vendor's come back and said, you know, okay, well, this is a fee. And I'm like, that's it. And it literally is 50% more than we hired this vendor a few years ago. And I said, that's 50% more. And he said, I understand, and if you were a new client, it would be even more than that.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And he was very, very polite. And he said, look, I understand, but you know, my costs have increased. The time that you hired it last time was in the off-peak season, so I gave you a deal. You got a very good deal last time. I can't work to those rates anymore. You know,
Right.
My company can't survive. I need to do something else. And if you don't take it, someone else will.
Yes.
And he was still he was firm, but he was very polite about it. And I was like, you know, do you want me to walk away? And he said, well, no, I would love your business, but I'm afraid I can't charge you the amount you want to pay. And it was really down to me, you know. He said, look, you know, you can try someone else. And other vendors were more expensive, or the ones that were cheaper just weren't the same quality.
Right.
But it's not that he's a good person or a bad person. He's offering something. He can offer it at whatever price he wanted. He could have turned around and said, you know what, you're too much of a pain because you keep asking me for a discount. I don't want to work with you. And he's well within his rights to do that.
Yeah.
Now, I understand as coaches, we really want to help other people. We really want to serve other people. But we're not doing that if we're not looking after ourselves. If you're working every hour under the sun,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not covering your bills and your costs,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you then again, that's not really benefiting the world.
Right.
And
Right.
like you've said, the fact that he's upset, why is that a problem to you?
Right this second, is it?
Right. We cannot, whilst I'm sure everyone in this call would love to have clients that walk away that are very happy, you know, astonish our clients, talk about us and all the rest of it, and no one wants to be a bad or obnoxious person.
Right.
We aren't responsible for other people's feelings. And you can be very polite about it, but really it comes down to you. And like I said, there's no right answer. You can choose to carry on working with him at the same cost that you were, if you choose to, if it makes sense for you, based on whatever your criteria is, then you can do that. But if it doesn't, then again, that's down to you. And there is a whole group of coaches we have here, many of whom don't have a full practice, many of whom would be willing to work with him on the lower fee. And I think, you know, that's something genuinely you can offer and say, you know, I've thought about it. I am full. I'm sorry, I have a full practice. You know, we ended our engagement. If you carried on, that would have been different, but I've got too many clients now. I don't have the time. If you want to carry on, I can make an exception for you. at this rate, but that's my new rate now. I really understand if you don't want to pay that. I totally understand, and I can refer you to other coaches who are good coaches who will be willing to pay that amount. But these are your two options.
Okay.
And you can be very respectful and polite about that if you choose to. And like I said, you can also choose to charge them the lower fee if you choose. But
I'm gonna go backwards.
Yeah, it really is down to you what you want.
You know that a year ago I was at $35, and I had two clients. One was paying me $35 a session, and one was pro bono. And I still have a pro bono, the same one, and the $35 went up to $50. You know, so now I've stepped up to $200, and that's a big step for me, but I feel I'm worth it. I feel that I just feel that I am being of service to the people I am coaching, and I see that I can make a living. You've been very helpful.
And you're a fantastic coach. I mean, you've told me as well that your clients, the feedback you get from them is exceptional. It's not like you're just charging a lot of money and it's just about making money. From what you've told me, you deliver exceptional service. I know you've coached a couple of people that I've coached, and they've come back to me and spoken very, very highly of you, and very, very highly of the coaching they have experienced from you, and been really impacted by it. But there are no rules with this. Like you said, there are no rules to say you carry on at a certain price with someone, you charge this or you charge that. It really comes down to you. And I don't think, one thing that I've become really clear on as well is I don't want to. I'm a coach, and as a coach, I'm sure this is the same thing. I think I'm not sure with counseling, but I do know with coaching, I don't want to create a codependency relationship. Right.
Yes.
I don't want my clients to be dependent on me. I don't want them to need me. This is not a parent-child relationship. It's about two adults having a conversation and helping the client get the most from their coaching.
Right.
Getting the most from their life around what they want. You don't owe anyone anything. And if I had a client who was throwing a tantrum or throwing their toys out of the pram around pricing, to me that would be an opportunity to coach that person around it, or to have a conversation around that, because there is misunderstanding there for that person.
Oh God, a light bulb just went on. Yes. Yes. At least one final conversation with this person, perhaps the final one. But if it is, I can go out gracefully, and let the person walk away still feeling loved and cared about, and hopefully open to meeting with one of the other coaches, maybe somebody that's on this call. I think you're full right now, right?
Sorry?
I think you're full right now.
Yeah, I am full right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe somebody else. Okay. You've been very helpful. This has been so helpful.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I wanted to say is that You know, I haven't done this, but I was going to do a series of videos around what do you do when your practice is full. And to me, it's exactly the same. If people reach out to me right now and they want to have a conversation, I will still have a conversation with them. I've had people, I had a coach last week who reached out to me, wanted to have a conversation. I let them know I'm full. I probably will have some space in about a month's time, but that's okay. But I don't stop serving people. You know, my head is always in service, and I think that's what you've had a light bulb around, that you
Yes.
can still approach this from a place of love and service with this guy. And like you said, that could look like many different things. He can work with you at this rate. You're happy to put him in touch with someone else. You know, you're happy to serve him in that conversation as well. There are many things that you can do to serve him right now, and for me, that's always a place to come from.
You know, I like to think that I'm that way just in the world, just in the world period with anybody, even if it's at the grocery store, you know.
There is something else that I wanted to say, which was really around learning from this experience. You know, whenever I have something that doesn't go according to plan within my coaching, I do look and see what am I learning from that. So are you open to looking at that, Eva?
Yes.
So what do you see that you could do differently next time when you come to a situation when you're completing with a client?
What I see, Ankush, is that depending on every situation being different, I can be less rigid or not, but not feel bad about whatever decision I make. You know, I can still be kind and loving and supporting and gentle and still stand firm with my price, or I can be, depending on the situation, be open to, you know, going at the lower price and not beating myself up because I did that. Just be okay with what is, whatever the universe, whatever life is presenting me. Because I know for me, universal mind is where limitless information comes from. And sometimes that's what's coming through. You know, I just wanted to say one more thing about being a counselor for so long. It was very important to me to get a coach who had a coach who was coaching, that could teach me the difference between counseling and coaching. I just wanted to say that.
No, appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure to work with you, Eva, and watch your practice. You know, absolutely soar, like you said, going from, you know, 2 clients, only one of them paid a year ago, you know, less than a year ago, to having a full practice is,
Yes.
you know, shows the power of coaching and, you know, the work that you've done in that time. Just going back to this client as well, do you see anything else you could have done earlier, or would you like me to share with you?
Would you share with me?
Yeah, and this is just an option. You don't need to do this, but it's something that you might want to try out. It might be something you want to explore. Is that next time you come to this situation, next time you come to the end of an agreement with a client, and your practice is full or nearly full, you might want to relate this story and just say, I had a client and they finished with me and they chose not to renew, and that's fine, and I'm very happy with that. But just so that you know, when my client came back, my fees had increased. Just so that you know, if we don't choose to move together right now and you choose to come back in the future, I cannot guarantee that you will get the same rate. I just want you to know that.
Perfect.
And what that does is it stops them having expectations around paying the same fee that they were right now. If that is to change, now you might choose to keep it the same, but it also lets them know that this has happened before, and it means that there's no nasty surprises for them.
That's great. That's perfect. That's perfect. I would like to think that that would have came to me eventually. but thank you, because now I have it for sure.
This is the great thing about coaching, because, as I was saying to Maria, there's no roadmap per se, or anything else, but we coach, we get experience, we come across certain situations, and we learn from it. I've learned from this situation that you've shared with us tonight, and I learn from the situations that I go through. Some of them go as I would like, some of them don't go as I would like, but I learn from them. And for example, I talked about having agreements. One of the reasons I have agreements with all my clients is because when I started coaching, it wasn't working. I'd get clients cancelling, I'd get clients not showing up. Clients would expect things that I didn't were different to my expectations. But having an agreement really worked for me. It really started to make sense for me to do that. And when I talk to my clients, when I talk to new clients, I tell them, oh, this is why this is in here. By the way, I had a situation where this happened with a client. This is in here to make sure that doesn't happen again. And it's for in your benefit as well as mine.
Yes. Yes.
Great. Do you have any other questions, or are we complete, Eva?
No, we're complete. I'll have questions when I see you next time.
Great. Cool. Well, if we've got any questions from anyone on the side panel, if you've got any comments, feel free to post them on the side. I will unmute Maria. Oh, Maria, you'll have to unmute yourself. But thank you very much for both being on the call today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope it's been helpful to both of you.
Yes. Yes, it has.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and one thing I would do, actually, Maria, I would encourage, if you've not done so already, you might want to schedule a conversation. If Eva, I don't know if you're up for it. I think it'd be great for both of you to connect.
Oh,
Yes, that sounds good.
Yeah, considering that Eva's had a background in counselling and moved to coaching, and that's exactly what you want to do. I think we've got such great resources within this community, and people that I found are always so helpful. So I encourage you both to talk to each other as well, and connect.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Gail says this was very helpful. Thank you, Gail. I can't see any other questions on the side. So if there isn't anything else, I will say thank you very much. Exactly it's time, 8 p.m. Great. That we've got on here. This will go up. I'll share the link online, and yeah, feel free to ask any questions. If anyone's watching this back afterwards, feel free to ask any questions in the group about this. and we'll do another one of these next month.
Thank you, Anish.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Maria.
Maria.
Yes, thank you as well.